Hey guys, Savage Joy with Real Progressives here tonight for a Dem-Enter, Dem-Exit debate. We have Jessica Penny.
Hello.
For Dem-Enter, and we have John Lancelot for Dem-Exit.
Hello.
So first, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Jessica, do you want to just give kind of a background and what you do with the party, all that fun stuff, and where you're located?
Yeah, I'm in Massachusetts, arguably the best state for Dem-Enter right now. We've been massively successful. I'm a member of my town Democratic committee where I'm already changing minds. I am a Mass Dem delegate, so the state level party, I'm a delegate, and I caucus with Our Revolution, and over 700 of us showed up to the party platform convention earlier this year, and we passed the most progressive party platform in history in the state, so and arguably in the country. So I'm pretty experienced when it comes to looking at things from the inside. It's tough. It's really tough, but I'm a diehard Bernie person. I was in California for the primaries last year, so I had my heart broken and stomped all over, and I totally understand where Dem-Exit is coming from emotionally. It's a really difficult subject, but I'm looking forward to talking to people about it because what we're doing is working, and I'm really proud of what we're doing. So yeah, I'm curious to hear about John.
All right, John, you're up.
Well, John Lancelot, I'm very familiar with Real Progressives and been working in the movement politics for a very long time. My formal training is in diplomacy and international relations. I'm currently working with Draft Bernie for a People's Party as the foreign policy advisor, and we're working with academics and coalition builders around the world, because after our meeting in Washington D.C., the People's Convergence event we had, where we had a bunch of organizations together, we're really working towards building a coalition, and we're very serious about it. I'm very hopeful because the American people are going in that direction. A majority of American voters are independent, and after what happened in 2016 and even further back, we could talk about all the things that the Democrat Party have been doing in counter to our progressive agenda, that, in order to have leverage, we need to have a coalition third party with all of us together, working together to make sure that we get our agenda pushed forward. So right now, we've been working very hard to make sure that we work with everyone, that we are able to share power, not only amongst those who are involved in politics, but also with the American people who are looking for new solutions. And also me personally, I've been traveling abroad to find out what's been going on in other countries. And so we're putting a lot of a laser focus on how to make sure that we have an organization, a progressive organization that actually does work for the American people and all the people, not just progressives, but independents and conservatives who are disaffected from the Republican Party. So really, we're about forming something new and robust.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. I've known John for a little bit, met him at the Convergence convention, and then Jessica was recommended to me. You guys are both super passionate, so you guys are ideal for the people I wanted.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Same here.
So there are no official numbers of Dem-Exits. I've seen such a variation, as I'm sure you guys have as well. The percentage of independents and Greens has, rise, exponentially. The lowest number I found as far as Dem-Exits was 2 million. I think it's probably more than that, but that's the lowest number I found. Jessica, what do the Dems stand for? We all know what they stand against because they continuously talk about Trump, but what do they stand for? That's
a difficult question to answer because there are Dem organizations at all levels of government, and they all have their own platform or their own version of a platform, procedurally, whatever that might be. So I think in return, I would ask you, are we talking about the national level, or are we talking about state levels? If so, which state?
The DNC. I kind of want to stick to like the DNC presidential elections, things like that overall, just because it's easier for other people to relate as well.
Yeah, the problem with that is that Dem-Enter is primarily on the local level right now, meaning at the municipal, county, and state level. And what we're doing is we're taking over our local governments and pushing them to the left and essentially saying, we don't agree with this. We're progressives. We saw what you did. We saw how slimy you were in 2016. We saw exactly how you are. We see the corporate money coming in. We see you blaming Russia for really no reason. It doesn't make any sense. And I think a lot of progressives see this. They see these weird. It's almost like a cult at times. Like people are willing to accept these facts without really any sort of logic behind it or any evidence, really. We don't have any evidence that Russia hacked the election. So at this point, I would say the federal Democrats. That's excluding the. Let me see. There are 10 sitting federal Bernie-crats in the U.S. House, and of course, one Bernie in the Senate. There are 10 sitting federal Bernie-crats in the U.S. House, and that is just from Dem-Enter. That is from the last less than a year, which is fantastic. That's a lot at a federal level. So really what we're saying to them is, we see what you're doing, we see what you did, and we don't agree with it. We want this party to be the people's party. We want this to represent the people. That's what this is supposed to be. And it's turned into this monstrosity, this corporate monstrosity where we accept money from, these really shady corporations like Big Pharma, or, we run these campaigns that aren't exactly honest or that aren't exactly, progressive. Why would you run as a Democrat and not be in favor of single payer? Why on earth would you ever do that? So these are the kind of conversations that we're having within the party. And, it's at all levels. It is at all levels. I can't stress that enough. And we are just now making headway at the local level. And politics, as you know, does not happen overnight. It is a slow churning process, and it's not sexy. It's not sexy. I'm just going to say that. I had to sit through 5 hours of really crappy speeches at the platform convention in order to actually vote on the platform. But it was worth it because we passed so many amazing things.
Your timer is going off.
Okay.
So, John, what's your response?
Well, I've seen the Democrats lose elections since 2000 miserably. And I've also seen them, as a corporate party. I mean, on the local level, you want to talk about the local level. I mean, what happened in California where they brought in a corporate lobbyist to run the local, the actual party in the state. That's kind of a dent, in that, I'm not saying that, that's, I think what you're doing is very noble. I just think that what's going on with the Democratic Party is scary because they don't want anything to do with progressives at all, local or national. But also why the national is very important, because we have a lot of issues with the Democrats and their behavior in foreign policy. It affects us even on the local level. It affects people with jobs on a local level. I mean, when TPP was killed, I mean, that was like one thing that was great for American workers. But over years and years and years, the Democrats have proven that they've gotten more and more away from New Deal politics and more towards the right. And that's a trajectory that's been happening since World War II. And so that is why that we believe that our strategy of Dem-Exit, or whatever you want to call it, coalition strategy, where we got together as different organizations, groups, as Americans, that look, we want to provide a platform that all Americans could agree with. And I feel that both parties have failed in gaining the trust of the American people. And it is, politics is not sexy. It can be very brutal. It's something that's been happening for a very long time. This is nothing new with the Democratic Party. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. And at some point, we have to have the confidence and the wherewithal to say, you know what? We're going to make a new organization, a new public party for progressives to move forward with. And I think that's very reasonable because that's where the American people want to go.
Could I respond to that?
Yes, you can.
So we're talking about trust here, trusting the party. This is a really tough one because, to put it in Bernie's words, this isn't about trust. This is about the opposite of trust. We who Dem-Enter, we entered the party because we don't trust them to do the right thing, because we don't trust them to win. And as long as we're talking about Dems losing, which I agree with, Dems are really great at losing. Thanks, Hillary. We are entering the party so we can change that, and we are changing that. So like I said, Dem-Enter's been going on for less than a year, and we already hold 171 legislative seats. Bernie-crats in the Democratic Party who Dem-Entered hold 171 sitting state legislative seats. I'm sorry, that's state and federal. Out of, I think, 8,100, and that's in less than a year. Do you want to know how many legislative seats at the state and federal level the Green Party holds? 1. And the Green Party has been around since 1985. So it's as old as I am, and I'm 32 years old, and they have 1 legislative seat. Meanwhile, Dem-Enter has been around for less than a year, and we have 171. And that's not even including the municipal and county level, which has been even more of a success than the state and federal level.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
A quick response. Dem-Enter has been going on longer than a year. It's been going on for years. It's been going on since, I've seen people go in and out of the Democratic Party since Howard Dean.
Dem-Enter was in response to Dem-Exit. It's in response to Bernie being cheated.
That's the recent one. But if we want to be actually accurate, it's been going on every time we have a progressive candidate. It happened during Obama, because I know I entered the Democratic Party to vote for Obama, left. And then I entered for Bernie and left. Before that for Dean and left. So it's something that's been going back and forth.
I wouldn't say that's Dem-Enter. That's just you joining the party to vote for someone.
And about the Green Party, the Green Party, we're not talking about the Green Party. We're talking about bringing a lot of different parties and organizations together to do something different. Yes, if we do the same thing over and over again and get the same results, which I think the Democrats are well aware that they've been doing that and losing, we want to innovate in politics. We don't want to do the same thing over and over again. So that's why we're doing this. But yeah, the Green Party, at least they try. At least I have to say the Green Party, at least they try. But
Dem-Enter doesn't.
Oh, also the Democratic Party has just purged progressives from the executive board. So who knows?
Yes, let's talk about that.
I don't know what's going to happen now that they've done that.
Sure, let's talk about that. So Tom Perez, I think what you're referring to is that Tom Perez essentially got a slight hint that Bernie might be running in 2020, and all of a sudden he's firing all the Bernie-crats that are inside the party, right? What that proves is that they want you to Dem-Enter. They want you to Dem-Exit. They want you to get out of the party. They want you out of their way. Dem-Enter is their worst nightmare, and they know it, because procedurally we can get in the way and they can't change the procedure. They can't.
But they did that to Bernie in 2016, and
they cheated. They committed fraud.
To the party, though,
they committed fraud. They were outside of the party procedure, outside of the law. Even
that's the whole point. They're not. The establishment is not that easy to push aside. They have.
Politics is hard.
Yeah, it is, and I know I've been in the trenches for years, and so I know that the Democrats are a very powerful organization. but from within, and I'm not even knocking the inside strategy. I'm saying that it's going to be very tough when they're making these strategic moves within the party.
Well, it's going to be tough to form an independent third-party coalition.
Not tough at all, because I tell you why. The American people are ready for something new. I mean, I'll tell you right now.
Well, judging by how many people vote for independence in general elections, that's not true.
Well, let's look at this.
Guys, I'm going to go to a question that is actually, basically relative to this.
Sure.
So if this, and I can direct it to Jessica, and then John, you can respond. Given Bernard, Senator Sanders, he had millions of us, and we were all fighters. We to the death, tooth and nail. We gave everything.
Everything.
And with that being said, if we couldn't change it, all of us, millions of us, and the most popular man in the Senate, all of that given, if we couldn't change it, what could we do now that is different, that could change things from within?
Sure. Well, I don't think it's accurate to say that we couldn't change it. First of all, change takes many election cycles usually. You can't just try once and then give up and say, well, that strategy didn't work. I guess we have to move on. That was one election. And really, Bernie woke up this groundswell of progressives that we have never seen before. I mean, it was just unprecedented. So really, what we can do now is keep in mind that I think it's probable that Bernie actually did win. I think people who are paying attention know that, so they had to go outside of the law. They had to commit fraud in order for us not to win. That's how effective Dem-Enter was. That's how effective the progressives within the party were. Bernie woke us all up. We got involved. We took direct action, and they had to resort to fraud in order to beat us. Okay, that is not within the party rules. That is fraud.
And they won. They won because they brought him down to Brazil.
Yeah, because they committed fraud.
They brought down to Brazil back.
Do you think that's going to change if you leave the party and you just let them do whatever they want?
Look, there's a whole group of Americans. I'm talking about independents. I'm talking about libertarians. I'm talking about conservatives who are sick of the Trump and the GOP hypocrisy. I'm talking about the American people who are sick of both parties. To just say that, it's hard to form a party. I mean, if you look in American history with the Whigs and the Federalists, they're no longer around. I mean, there is.
And that was 150 years ago.
And the American people are tired. I mean, I talk to people every day. I'm not talking about theory. I'm talking about real, everyday hurting people who are sick and tired of the back and forth. Do you know that a majority of the American people realize that their state legislatures, who are of both parties, will not solve their problems? They're just there to win elections. So how you change a culture like that from the inside, it's very difficult. I understand that, where your idea is coming from, because I've been there. But at this point in American history, we need to have a real frank conversation with the American people and give them an alternative that they can actually believe in. Because, I mean, if we just stick to one or two or three ideas and go with it, we need to have a multiple facet idea where we can get a lot of ideas in to win our country back. Because right now, I mean, what's going on in the world right now is pretty scary, and we do not have time to wait for the Democrats to change their color.
All right, let's talk about time. Let's talk about that. So, all right, you said a few things that I want to respond to. First of all, you changed the party from the bottom up. The American government was set up to accommodate a groundswell revolution. And what that means is the municipal and the state level party organizations feed up into what is essentially the be-all end-all of the national DNC. So we local and state chapters are the legs that the DNC, the federal level DNC, stand on. They need us. They can't fight us forever. They can't fire us forever. And we are taking over the party. In Massachusetts, 700 Our Revolution Democrats showed up. And that's not even counting Democratic Socialists of America, Progressive Massachusetts. That's not even all the progressives that showed up. And we had 3,000, maybe 4,000 delegates. So we were a pretty sizable portion. And most of the Democrats, the rank and file Democrats that were there that I talked to, that people I knew were there, talked to, agreed with most of the things that we put in the platform. And let me just tell you what we got into the platform. And this is all Democrats that voted this in, all the Democrats, or majority of them. We have single payer that passed, free public college, $15 an hour minimum wage, automatic voter registration, paid family and medical leave, fighting climate change by no longer accepting oil money, essentially, in campaigns, a progressive tax bracket that makes the wealthy pay their fair share, overturning Citizens United, and abolition of superdelegates, amongst many other things. So we're already changing the party. And also after the platform convention, we had so many progressives putting pressure on Senator Markey and Senator Warren, who are now in favor. They both co-sponsored Bernie's Medicare for All bill after we put pressure on them saying, hey, this is in the platform now. Why are you not coming out in favor of this? So we're seeing that our influence reaches the higher level.
On that note, I put pressure on people as well, and I Dem-Exited. So why do you be a Democrat to?
Well, the reason why we were able to put pressure on them mainly was because it was in the platform. And if you aren't a delegate, then you can't vote on the platform. There's just no way for you to become a part of the procedure. And that's really all it's about, is inserting yourself directly into the process and changing things, sort of nipping it in the bud before it can even get, steer off track. And just standing up and saying, hey, why isn't anyone talking about this? Why isn't this happening? And also one more point I just wanted to make, and then I'll let you speak, John. I'm so sorry. Time. So like I said, Green Party, one legislative seat after 32 years, less than a year of Dem-Enter organizing after, Bernie was cheated, less than a year, and we have 171 legislative seats federally and in the states. That's 170 more seats, and that's 31 less years that we've been working. So I would argue that we don't have time to wait for a third party, and we don't have time to wait for some, imaginary independent infrastructure that brings all people of all whatevers together, because while that's a nice idea, has nothing to do with reality. The two-party system holds all the power, and they are not going to give it to us. We have to enter in and take it. It's a takeover.
Well, let me say this. This is exactly why the people will not join the Democratic Party, because people don't want to be cowed into joining the party. People want to be so, when you ignore history and you think that, this just started. I mean, the Democratic Party has been around for a long time. And, just to say that, it's been happening the last year since 2016, that's not accurate.
It is. Dem-Enter has been around for a year.
We have been struggling with the Democratic Party as progressives for a very long time. This is nothing new. But, if you want to look at a Gallup poll, even the majority of Democrats are calling for a major new party. 52%. 52% of Democrats. I mean, that is a damaging number. That is devastating. How about the number of Americans, the Gallup poll, asking for a new party? Americans, 61% of Americans want a new party. That is devastating for the Democrats. And there's nothing imaginary about the American people going to the poll and pushing and voting for the person they want. It's in the Constitution. There's nothing about the Democrats or Republicans within the Constitution. The process has already been made. It's just the parties want you to believe that you need them. And at this point in human history, we can't just think it's great that's happening in Massachusetts. I'm all over. I talk to people all over the country. I talk to people all over the world. I mean, we have to get people locally to realize that we're not a vacuum. We're Americans, but we're not sitting in a vacuum. There's a world that we have to look into. And right now, the Democratic Party has proven that even with Obama's office, he threw drones all over the place. Who knows how much damage has been done in the past 8 years in foreign policy. And of course, the Republicans are responsible for it. But the Democrats, when we talk about changing the Democratic Party from within, we have to realize what that entails. If we're talking about time, a lot of us have gone to school for this. A lot of us have studied this. A lot of us have put a lot of time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears into politics. And we see a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to independent politics. Bernie is running as an independent again for the U.S. Senate in Vermont. So he
does that every year. He's been doing that the whole time.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we're learning. That's what we're looking into. And that's exactly what the American people want, because the American people are not going to be cowed into voting for the Democratic Party just because they've been there for a long time. Of course, and we could talk about how much damage both parties have done, not only to our society, which forces a divide between people who should otherwise be talking to one another, but also forced us to deal with an international situation that we're going to have to fix one piece at a time. So no, we don't have the time to wait for Democrats. We have to talk about these issues now. And that's just the way I think about it.
Okay, guys. So the next question is, you guys kind of answered a couple I already had. So the next one's for Jessica. Is something I noticed that a lot of people notice is Dem-Enter people post on their Facebook pages, and they absolutely trash the Democratic Party. It looks kind of like mine, and as a Dem-Exiter. So is that counterproductive? And also not that you should have cognitive dissonance, but is trashing them going to get people to join?
I think let's just clarify the reason why people Dem-Enter. I think there's some sort of misunderstanding. People Dem-Enter because they don't trust the party, because they see everything the party has done and they disapprove of it and they want to change it. And they especially want to change things like closed primaries, because that's part of what holds people to this two-party system. And we want to disrupt the two-party system. We want to get the best possible candidate up there and actually win, because we've been losing. The Dem Party's been losing. And, I don't really consider myself a Democrat. I'm a dino. I always say I'm a dino. And, that usually has some sort of other meaning, like you're a conservative, but you're just saying that you're a liberal. But really, I'm a progressive, and I'm just posing as a liberal just so I can get myself into the process and actually change things, take direct action, make a difference, and take the power back where it lies. Because, it's the sad reality is the two-party system holds all of the power, and that is not going to change with some third party, whatever. I mean, it takes generations for third parties to come up.
Not true.
The Green Party's been around for decades, and they have one legislative seat.
Facts. Look, if you want to talk about,
prove me wrong. What party hasn't taken?
I'm sorry, but it's just like, I believe that the American people could look up the fact that the Whig Party only took 2 years to change to the Republican Party.
They were pushed into place by Abraham Lincoln because of the slavery issue. And that was 150 years ago.
But we're talking about now. People are not happy.
Yeah, we're talking about now, not the Whig Party 150 years ago.
I'm talking to activists. I'm talking to real people. I'm asking real people literally, do you trust the Democrats or Republicans? And they're telling me no. So I don't understand where the Democrats think they're going to come up and get all these voters. Do you know Bernie Sanders brought independents?
That's not what I'm saying.
And conservatives into the Democratic Party, and what do? They just washed everyone out. So for the Democrats to think they're going to get all these people back is a dream. That is the real pipe dream, because the American people are hurting, and a lot of people are scared. They can't even get health care.
That's not what I think or said, but okay.
And for the Democrats to be disingenuous, and now they want to support Bernie with this healthcare bill when they're in the minority that they caused themselves to be in a minority, is laughable. It's laughable. So that's why the American people are serious about starting a coalition party, because we're not coming back. And that's just the bottom line. We're going to go the length to make sure that the American people have an alternative to the Democrats or Republicans. And yes, the two-party system is a very powerful thing, but it's not a unicorn that never falls. It's something that's real. It's something that could fail. And actually, the both parties are failing right now. We could speak to that. We could really speak to their failures.
Sure. I mean, I'm not saying that the Democratic Party is going to get all these people back and, you know, whatever it was that you said. What I'm saying is the Democratic Party is losing and they're going in the wrong direction. And progressives are trying to get in there and change that and put progressive candidates up that you can actually vote for in good conscience. I don't understand why that's so objectionable. And also, since we're talking about being cowed into voting, you're not being forced to vote if it's someone that you actually want to vote for. If it's a progressive candidate that you really like, it's worth joining the party if you have closed primaries. You know, it's absolutely worth supporting those candidates because John, that's how they can get the power.
If let's say 2020, Nina or someone badass, runs and she's the best person, are you open to voting Dem?
Well, look at it like this. If Nina or Bernie could get past the primary, past the superdelegates, which is nearly impossible for the superdelegates to switch to progressives and get from behind the establishment candidate, that would be a groundbreaking thing. We could cross that bridge when we get there, but to speculate that now is basically like speculating if the sky is red. Right now, what we're looking at is a superdelegate system that is never going to give us a progressive presidency. And so what we're trying to do is figure out how to do it. And if we have to fail a million times to do it, we're going to do it because we're sick of dealing with the Democratic Party trying to get us to vote for them, and they give us a candidate that doesn't work within the interests of the American people. It doesn't work in the interest of the working class. Actually, it's made it worse for the working class. In urban neighborhoods where Democrats run urban neighborhoods in America, I'm talking about Paterson, New Jersey, in New Jersey. We're talking about Newark in New Jersey. These neighborhoods, we're talking about Camden, ran by Democrats, and the people still don't have a voice. They're looking for change, and they're not getting it. And these are Democrat strongholds. So they don't have a very good record of rebuilding areas, of making it better for people to live, for giving people education and healthcare. Neither party has that record, and we should just be truthful with that and realize that if the establishment superdelegates are willing to back up a progressive like Nina Turner, a progressive like Bernie Sanders, and give in and do that, then I would say, okay, fine, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I personally not going to hold my breath for it.
Right. I mean, the reason why I asked that is because there are people in the chat right now saying, I will never vote Dem again. And I think that can be pretty dangerous because I personally won't rule anything out. If I ever vote Dem again, I will literally register for 24 hours and leave again. But I don't like to rule it out because if Bernie came back, hell yeah, I'd vote for him again. Hopefully as an independent, but you don't know. So that's why I was just saying if you were open to the idea or if you were, one of the people who's saying never will I vote for Dems again.
Look, and I agree with what you're saying. We live in America. People could say what they like. If they don't want to vote for Mickey Mouse, go ahead. But when what you're saying is absolutely true. If we get Bernie Sanders to win and get into a general election without interference from the superdelegates.
What about the primary?
Well, the primary is another thing because to get the people back into the primary.
Would you vote for Bernie in a Dem primary?
People couldn't even get into the primary when he was running. People were locked out. There were closed primaries. People were having their ballots thrown out. So there's that problem.
Well, you're not answering the question, though.
What's the question? Would
you vote for Bernie in a Dem primary?
In a Dem primary? That's if I'm a Dem. because I'm not. I'm independent, so I technically can't.
So you wouldn't vote for Bernie if he ran as Dem?
I would vote for Bernie anywhere he goes. If you voted for Dem, can I vote for the individual? But the thing is, what happened last time, we're circling again. What we don't want to do as progressives is end up in the same situation that we're in 2016. Is to go into a primary, try to get our candidate through, and get crushed. And end up.
We're not in the same situation at all. We hold 171 legislative seats now.
That's what I'm saying now. It's not about me. It's about the American people. They don't trust the Democrats, and frankly, they don't trust progressive Democrats either because they see the D in front of his name. I mean, I have a friend who in Ohio who ran,
and that's dangerous.
Well, no, it's not dangerous. People are going to vote for what they want to vote for. It's undemocratic to say that it's dangerous. We live in a democracy. We live in a democracy where people vote the way they want. If somebody wants to vote Republican, you're going to say that they're voting dangerous?
If you're refusing to vote for someone simply because there's a D next to their name and not because you research their policy and you disagree with it, then anyone, fine. The royal you we're talking about.
Reality. I'm talking cold hard reality. People don't want to vote for either party. That's what I'm trying to say. People do not want to. So whether you think it's dangerous or not,
that's why we're Dem-Entering. So they do want to vote.
Either party. People want change, and to them, the Democrats and Republicans doesn't simplify.
Am I gonna have a chance to speak, Joy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so people don't want to vote for the parties because they suck. That's why we're taking it over. We're trying to make it not suck, and we're trying to make the policy actually reflect what the people want, because that's what this country deserves, and that's what we progressives want for the country as well, and we're fighting tooth and nail for it. I mean, we have really difficult conversations, and we're constantly getting crushed. But we also have a lot of really important wins. I mean, we have 171 legislative seats across the country now, just with Bernie-crats in them, making decisions and making huge differences every single day. So, I would say the pipe dream is waiting for some independent party to gain steam to, the point where it gains national relevance. We haven't seen that in 150 years. And the only reason we saw that 150 years ago is because of the issue of slavery that pushed them over the top. And
we have civil rights issues today. So we're fighting the same battles in a different way. We're talking about civil rights issues. We're talking about issues between our law enforcement and our citizens. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about all sorts of huge issues. So, and also, we have to realize that, yes, it hasn't happened in 100 and some odd years, but it's time for us to do something different. And that's all what people are saying. Like, we're doing something different, and there's nothing anyone's going to do about it.
Very different.
I think something that's extremely different that we've learned this time is we're the media. We have this thing called the internet now. Worst thing to happen to Hillary, best thing to happen to Bernie. So that is changing the third party notion. That is change. It's making people more aware. There are more parties. It's making people more educated on the party's platforms.
And hopefully Jill gets more than 1% of the vote in the next general election. I voted for Jill. I would like to see her get more than 1% of the vote.
Do you think that those numbers are accurate?
No. I think Hillary stole a lot of her votes, but that just bolsters Dem-Enter's argument that nothing will change unless the two-party system is changed from within, because they'll just continue stealing her votes.
So that's interesting. So did you Dem-Exit and then Dem-Enter? Or you say, I see. John, do you mind if I ask who you voted for?
In what?
In the primary or the general 2006.
I voted for Bernie. Okay, I voted for Bernie. Okay, so one thing I want to emphasize a lot that's at the core of this argument is that also what I noticed with the Democrats is that they don't have a real economic plan. They're not even talking about economics. What we're talking about is an economic plan where Congress does its job instead of causing austerity, by talking about this deficit that's like, just they talk about deficit like it's something where republics are designed to do so, where the American people need to start making jobs for it. We need to keep making jobs and keep making companies so we can work, so we can have a federal jobs guarantee. And so, yes, when we talk about like things like MMT and the economists, that the post-Keynesian economists, that is the way that we are going to be able to make a dent and bring any party to power, because right now both parties, the neoliberals, and they're failing, and it's happening all over the world. So if we agree on that, that's fine. But I'm saying that the Democratic Party in the past few days have given us an indication that they're not going to change. And so I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not going to sit here and I'll let you speak after. I just want to make this point. And
sure.
I'm not going to sit here and say like what you're doing is wrong and it's a pipe dream, whatever. But what has been very consistent with the Dem-Enters, with the Dem-Exit, is this constant berating and like down talking on a strategy that it really people believe in. People put a lot of hard work into, and people putting years and scholastic work into making sure that the American people, and we have a third way. And so that's why people are sort of like about Dem-Enter, because when you talk about Dem-Exit, it's like you don't even consider it. You don't want to like talk about it. It's something that's not real. It's fairy dust. And that's the same thing they did to Bernie when he was running. They said he was riding ponies and riding rainbows, and that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's right.
No, so Dem-Enter, the way we look at it, first of all, I don't berate people. I mean, I Dem-Exited.
I'm not saying you at all. So
I Dem-Exited. Like I'm there with you guys. I totally understand the anger, and I have a deep disdain for the Democratic Party, which is why I Dem-Entered. I Dem-Entered the day that Tom Perez was appointed. I just got so angry, and I was like, this is just gonna get worse. This is only gonna get worse. And like I was saying earlier, the Dem-Enter is happening mostly on the local level right now. So because we only have 10 out of 171 legislative seats occupied by Bernie-crats are on the federal level. So we've yet to see all of this sort of well up to the federal level. So it's going to get worse at the federal level and national level before it gets better. And what we're seeing right now is it getting worse. And it's going to continue to be that way for a little bit, but we're making progress. And I haven't seen any progress that Dem-Exit has made. Can you enlighten me on what exactly you guys have changed?
Well, you know what? Apparently you're not paying attention. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but a lot of people have put a lot of hard work behind the scenes to make sure that
legislatively, procedurally, what have you changed?
We are trying to formulate a coalition party between interested organizations and parties. And that's what we're going to move forward with. And the way that we've been changing it is that we've been changing the narrative, is that the American people are sick and tired of both parties. And,
we can't wait for that. That takes generations.
I don't know how, I don't know when, but you're going to have to make sure, if you're going to do the Dem-Enter, that the Democrats are going to be, they're going to admit that they rigged the primary. They're never
going to do that, and we can't wait for them to do that.
I really don't understand how, the Wall Street faction of the Democratic Party is going to allow progressives to take over, because they have a lot of money, a lot of power, and they're going to make sure.
We have to show up in numbers. Because we have to show up in numbers, and we have procedures. Procedures are what will allow us to infiltrate to the point where we can pry power away from them, because those procedures have been in place for hundreds of years. And they were put in place by people who were very, very interested in checks and balances. And this is why we've been so successful in Massachusetts, because we showed up in numbers. And that's the critical point for Dem-Enter. We need as many progressives to show up as possible and insert themselves into the process, because numbers is what protects us. Numbers is what gets us through the procedures and disallows them from ignoring us and from just sort of shoving us aside, because they can't change the procedures. And if they do, it's going to be hell. And they can't change all of the procedures, certainly. So we're using the structure of the government itself against them, and it's working. We can see that in Massachusetts, and Rhode Island has been massively successful as well. California had a really great coup earlier this year that was just at the last minute they failed, but they're still trying. And this is, this really speaks to the fact that you have to keep trying. You can't just say, well, we lost one election and, we're going to have to give up now. We're going to have to leave the party and just never come back. And, you know,
we're talking about people who
talk
never
about things outside of the party and not actually procedurally make a difference. You know, so because a lot of Dem-Exit people I've talked to, they're not involved whatsoever. They just talk about it. And, you know, it's really great if there's a lot of people that are academically coming together and talking about changing the narrative and, you know, building a third party. That's great. I am all for third parties, but that has nothing to do with reality right now. The reality is that the two parties hold the majority of the power, and we have to pry it away from them using the governmental structure itself. And that's exactly what we're doing.
They broke.
I just want to interject a minute. I see Billy Taylor's in the comments. I don't know did either one of you go to Occupy DNC?
No.
Okay, so what we did when we were there, and this kind of fueled me to this point forward, even though it was over a year ago. Someone painted a coffin with upside down donkeys, and it said RIP DNC, and we ripped up our voter registration cards, threw them inside. We had a candlelight vigil. It was the death of democracy. And it was probably the hardest week of all of our lives who were there, like all 40,000 of us or however many were there. And anytime I even consider even thinking about, you know, well, if I go back, that feeling of being around all those people who were just crying and sobbing and, you know, just the pain we were all feeling when the election was stolen. I think I'm not alone when I say that. For Jessica, how do you respond when people say, you know, you're enabling them by, you know, even if you acknowledge they cheated, you acknowledge it. So that's good. Because I know some Dem-Enter peoples don't even acknowledge that.
I would question those people's actual commitment to progressive values.
Some of them are shills.
Oh, so, yeah.
But, you know, I know, and we joked about it earlier, I know you get shit for people saying, you know, you're enabling them or things like that. Like, what is your response?
My response is that is the complete opposite of the truth. Oh my God. I have just completely turned people's worlds upside down. You know, like if they spout some bullshit that, you know, is some neoliberal bullshit, I am just there and I'm like, no, this is how it is. This is what I think. This is what progressives think. Russia did not hack the election. What are you talking about? You're living on your own universe. You need to start listening to progressives. You need to start listening to the youth vote. If you want to stop losing, you need to have economic policy that's progressive and actually works for the people. You need to stop accepting corporate money. I stand in the way of them. I mean, that's principally what I'm doing, is standing in the way and just telling them, like, you can't keep doing this. You're not going to keep doing this without hearing an earful, at least from us progressives. And like I said, Tom Perez firing all the Bernie-crats, that just proves that they want us to leave. They want us to get out and just leave them to their own devices so they can keep doing what they were doing. So we need to step in and be like, no, you can't. So arguably, I would say Dem-Exiting is what's enabling them to keep going and keep doing what they want unopposed.
John?
Yeah, I think that is categorically not
so
true.
How many legislative does your movement have, John? I'm still waiting to hear what you've accomplished.
Well, we've accomplished because people know who we are. People know what we're about. We're making something new, okay? And I'm not going to sit here and enlist for you of what we've been doing, that we were working very hard to make it happen because,
well,
frankly,
just one thing then.
Right? But let me tell you something. We're here, we want the American people to realize that the Democrats are going to talk down to you, even Dem-Enters are talk down to you, even if you put the hard work into making a new organizations. Really, progressives don't have any public institutions. We treat the Democrats as if I'm being interrupted. So they don't align with us when it comes to how you treat people. They don't align with us when they cheat on elections, when they change the bylaws like they do all the time, and they're going to continue to do. And what we're saying is that we're going to build our own process. There's nothing wrong with it. And to tell the American people that what they're doing is wrong, and just to join the Democrats, it's just another way of sheep herding people back into the establishment.
That's not what Dem-Enter does.
That is damaging not only to the country, but to the rest of the world.
I've never said that, and nobody I know in Dem-Enter has ever said that.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying what I've heard, what I know. Okay, to say that what Dem-Exit has done
is now evidence. Okay,
there are a lot of organizations that you probably don't know about that are working to make sure that we have a new direction. And to say that that Dem-Exit has done nothing is a distortion and not true.
Well, legislatively, you haven't. Procedurally, you haven't.
There's no progressive legislation. There's none. None is getting through. The Republicans run
I just told you about we have 171 sitting legislative Bernie-crats.
And that's fine. Fine, let that run its course. But there's other factors at play. What you're saying is saying that if you vote for Libertarian, you're crazy. If you vote for a Republican,
no, that's not what I'm saying.
If you vote for a Green Party, you're nuts. And that's disrespectful to the American voter because we live in a...
That's not what I said at all.
I mean, that's basically what you're saying. We say, well, third parties
I'm saying that they don't make nearly as much of a difference as Dem-Enter has made in less than a year.
No, well, nobody's
okay, nobody cares.
Because
you still yet to name one thing that Dem-Exit has accomplished. I mean, we can say we have 171 sitting Bernie-crats federally and in the states.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say this right now.
That is your accomplishment.
We actually speak to people. We actually are connected to people. We're getting people to realize the truth about economics, about foreign policy, and we're changing the dialogue. That's what we're doing. No, we're not in any legislative seats, but you know what? Things could change. They just purged the executive board. What you're talking about was happened before the purge. They just purged.
I explained earlier, it's going to get worse on the national level before it gets better.
You know what? We don't want it to get worse on the national level. We don't. We're not going to give it.
No matter what you do, it's going to.
Okay, well, that's pessimistic, and that's fine. If you want to have that view, that's fine.
It's not pessimistic. It's realistic.
It's not realistic. What you're telling people who don't have health care.
No, I said it is realistic.
Health care. People are looking for a new direction. The Democrats are not giving it. They give people
progressives that are primary.
People are dying out there. And you're telling me that whatever other people do except for the Democrats is unrealistic? That's a distortion. That's a distortion.
And
that's not what I said. You misheard me, but okay.
That's a distortion.
All right.
I think this debate is, and this is why I wanted to do this, it's the epitome of the contention that, goes that Bernie-crats and progressives and everything have. It's interesting because all three of us want the same thing. We all want Medicare for all. We all want free college. We all want, healthcare as a right. We all want to end fracking. We all want these things, but we go about them different ways. Is it feasible that we can, even say 2018, that we can unite in at least form some kind of solidarity to get people elected? Because right now it seems kind of like, not just tonight, but like overall, just from looking in Bernie groups, things like that, there is a huge divide. So with that divide, you're splitting the votes in half, and then nobody's going to win.
Not necessarily. I think it transcends party. Progressivism transcends party. And the most important thing is to get out there and vote for progressives, especially if they are primarying a establishment candidate. You just got to get out there and vote for them and be on top of it. Do your homework. Make sure that you're supporting a candidate that actually is there for the people and wants what's best for the people.
I think that when Dem-Exiters think about what we're going to do moving forward, we're not just thinking about progressives. We're thinking about conservatives. We're thinking about independents, how we're going to bring them into the fold, how we're going to make agreements. Because the thing is that we're not just winning progressives is not going to win elections. It never has, and it never will.
It won 171 legislative seat election.
Not once have I heard how we're going to make
how
something
many
good.
Elections have you won, John?
Have I won?
I'm not a movement won. How many elections
I'm not a Green Partier. I'm a revolutionary. And when Bernie Sanders says political revolution, he said, do what you have to do to win elections. And you're talking about before the purge. I'm talking about now. I'm talking about right now. People want something different. You can't. I'm not gonna let you sit here and be like, oh well, you know what you're doing is bad. That's not being. And that's
I didn't say that.
What I think Dem-Exiters do, right, and are good at is saying to the Dem-Enters, look, we believe in your strategy, but we want to go different. On the other side, they disparage the Dem-Exit. They say all this crap about us, even though we're trying to work with them. And so I don't see any way that
I've never had a Dem-Exiter try to work with me.
If you're going to work win elections any further, when you have further broken the base by saying that, oh, what you're doing is not good.
I mean, just look at the comments on this video. It's all people disparaging me.
I'm trying to look through them. I see we have Nick Branna and Rod Branna who put on the convergence thing that John and I were at where we went to draft Bernie. I didn't sign the petition. I mean, if he would have gotten behind it, cool. I follow him wherever he wants to go, pretty much. I think he should run Republican and just fuck everything up. But basically, we went there and we had the, petition with all the signatures and everything. Everyone knew he wasn't going to be there because he's in Vermont every single year on his birthday. Somehow he got dissed because he wasn't there, even though everyone knew he wasn't going to be there. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, they are in the chat right now. So I know John and I were there for the weekend, and we had a great time. It was interesting to see so many different people who were just lost. Like, we just all were like looking for answers. Where do we turn from here? We feel like that's why for independent for me works. I don't feel like I fit anywhere else.
Sure, and I understand that. I don't fit in the Democratic Party.
So what was your thought as far, like, when people say they want a people's party? Like, what, because there's, there wasn't a lot of explanation at the conference as far as what goes into that. What besides the signatures actually has to get done in order to achieve a second, like an actual party. So what was your thinking when all of that came out and people are still saying People's Party, even though Byrne repeatedly said no several months?
Yeah. I don't think that draft Bernie is realistic, because you can't draft Bernie if Bernie doesn't want to be drafted. Doesn't really make sense to me. I'm not sure why people are hanging on to it. I mean, maybe it's just some sort of hope.
I'll tell you right now, the organization is going towards coalition building and is actually going to change the name, and we're going to move to something different. So it just shows that, look, you were speaking about something that you didn't even know, and I didn't put it up in the show, but I'm not going to sit here and disparage the efforts of other people who are working in politics. That's not the way that you gain allies, by saying that, oh, this is not going to work, this is not realistic. That is exactly what we are against, and we will not support that.
You're against hearing what's realistic?
We will not support anyone that is going to disparage the work that Americans are doing to change their country. And I don't care if you're going for a small party, a big party, local or national. If you're working to make the country better, then no one should tell you what you're doing is wrong and what you're doing is not right. And that's all I've heard tonight.
I didn't say that what you're doing is wrong or bad. I'm saying what you're doing is fruitless.
Well, if you think of what fruitless is something that turns to nothing. And in this case, in politics, nothing means bad. And you just contradicted yourself.
No, that's a logical jump.
That's logical. What you just said. There is nothing fruitless.
That's a logical jump that you just gave me.
Fruitless about taking on both parties, having the confidence, which I think Dem-Enter does, having any confidence.
Please, I genuinely
on the foe.
I genuinely want to know what Dem-Exit has accomplished and what direct action it has taken to create change.
Well, wait and see. Wait and see.
But we don't have time to wait.
Well, that's your problem.
That yourself.
That's your problem. You go do your Dem-Enter. We're going to keep going with our strategy, but you're not going to cow people into doing and tell them that what they're doing is unrealistic. This is the exact problem I have with the Dem-Exit. All they do.
I mean, it is unrealistic. You haven't accomplished anything.
You know what? I'm sorry, but when American history is not unrealistic, the issues that we're facing in this country is not unrealistic. Change is not unrealistic. What you're talking about is trying to get people to go into a party that they don't want to join because they have heard a million times. You must be new to politics. Are you?
I'm trying to get people to take the fastest path to reform.
There is no fastest path.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to take people on the fastest path to reform, which, as we see, less than a year now, Dem-Enter has been organizing specifically under our revolution, mainly. And we already have 171 legislative seats. You know, Green Party's been around for decades, and they have one legislative seat.
We're not talking about the Green Party.
Sure. Then we're talking about any third party. They don't have anywhere near 171 legislative seats.
I don't want to think that you're distorting the argument.
Right, now I'm being interrupted.
You're interrupting me as well. I'm just saying that you're distorting the argument.
Okay. So it's okay for you to interrupt me. That's not very polite. But so yeah, I would say that we've already proven in the last less than a year now that what we're doing is more effective, more quickly than efforts outside of the party, and we've been making great progress. I'm really proud of the progressives that have gone into the party and withstood all this abuse from them, and still come out on the other side with this amazing change.
So, on that note, do you think? Sorry, I was just gonna answer someone's question and now it moved. Okay. So as far as Dem-Enter, do you think that the majority of people who Dem-Enter are like yourself, like on a board or something like that? Do you think okay, so it's more of an active position than just like saying everyone should enter, just to kind of get unity or whatever.
Absolutely. We're all very, very active in the process, and we're all constantly talking to rank and file Democrats about why what they think isn't working and why they keep losing, and, the sort of economic policy that they need to, and social policy that they need to embrace in order to move forward and actually start winning elections and allowing progressives to do the work that they want to do legislatively and change things, change the process positively. Open primaries. We need to have open primaries in every single state, and every party needs to have open primaries. That's just how it should be. And, we want things like single payer and, paid family leave and fighting climate change, automatic voter registration, ranked choice voting. These are all things that we passed into the Massachusetts Democratic state platform already. And that was just with one try. That was just with one convention. It was absolutely amazing. Hundreds of us showed up. Hundreds of us. We took over the convention. So this is possible. We just need to get the numbers and get people into the process and actually organize to the point where we can shift things. We can steer the course of the entire ship so it doesn't just sink, because it's sinking pretty badly. And we need to come in and actually be like, look, this is why you guys are losing. You need to change, and you need to change now. And it's been working. It's been working in many states. I mean, we have 7 Bernie-crat state chairs now for the entire Democratic Party. So the state DNCs, 7 states have Bernie-crat state chairs running the entire state party. That's in Arkansas, Colorado, Hawaii, Missouri, Nebraska, Washington State, and Wyoming. All of them are run by Bernie-crats. The entire party in the whole state is run by Bernie-crats. And that's because of Dem-Enter. And that's amazing. That's, 7 states out of 50. That's great for less than a year. So, I mean, and we have 18 Bernie-crat DNC members as well. Yeah, so, I mean, what we're seeing is a groundswell, a progressive, revolutionary groundswell that the infrastructure of the party is accommodating, because this is what the government was built to do. It's built to accommodate a revolutionary groundswell that filters up from the bottom to the top, because, like I said, the national DNC, their legs that they stand on are the state and somewhat less so the municipal levels of democratic organizations. So we're still seeing it filter up, but we've been massively successful so far, and I'm really excited to see what comes in the next year.
Well, I mean, I guess everybody should just give up and just join the Democrats, right? They should just give up and say, we're going to go do this now.
Dem-Enter isn't giving up. Dem-Enter is fighting.
I'm saying everybody else. I mean, everybody else who does want to join the Democratic Party, because it just seems like there's a lot of promises that have been made. All I hear is the same promises that have been made for years, not just in the last year, but for years. I mean, you're just counting years of activist work. Years of activist work. It's just astounding. I've known activists throughout the years that have been working to change the Democratic Party. And so, to tell people like, oh, there's no chance that your efforts are going to work, is just not true. Because let me tell you right now.
I didn't say that.
Well, you know what? The American people want to change, and they're not going to get it from the Democratic Party.
Yeah, Dem-Exiters are the ones giving up.
If Donna Brazile is running your rules committee, then good luck with that.
That's at the national level. Like I said, the national level is going to get worse before it gets better.
No difference. Because, when the Democratic Party pushes out their strategy, right, then they're going to flood a lot of money into that party. And if your candidate doesn't get it, then you're not going to win the party. You're not going to win the election. If we could raise money based on the people raising like $27 donations, it doesn't matter what party you're a part of. If people like what you're proposing on a local level, I know independents who are part of boards and stuff. So don't act like the Democrats are the only ones.
So I'm still waiting to hear what Dem-Exit has accomplished.
Well, ask Bernie, because he's been a
No, you're not answering the question. You're just avoiding the question all over again.
As a senator, as an independent, that goes a long way. That goes a long way, let me tell you.
He caucuses with the Dems.
You just say, well, ignore Bernie because he's independent.
And it's in Vermont. He was independent. He was running as an independent candidate for mayor long before he was even a representative or a senator. Bernie is very much an outlier in this respect. I mean, in every respect, really, Bernie is an outlier. Can you please just tell me one thing Dem-Exit has accomplished?
This is the reason why people don't want to Dem-Enter. This is the reason why people don't like Dem-Enter.
Because you won't answer a question?
Because they're condescending.
No, I'm just trying to get you to answer a question, and you won't answer it.
You have big brains and know exactly how to run this country.
I'm just asking you a question.
My question is that
what have you accomplished?
Wait and see.
But we don't have time to wait. I'd rather keep making really huge strides with Dem-Enter.
Who are watching right now who are wondering what you're talking about, because there's a lot of people who put a lot of hard work, and I'm not at liberty to say what everybody else is doing. I know what I'm doing.
I appreciate the hard work. I really do.
I'm speaking to American people every day, normal everyday people, not just activists. I'm talking to everyday people who are sick and tired of the Democrats and Republicans. That is just
I understand. I understand that.
Hey, you guys, I just want to interject. I know this is like a ridiculously contentious subject, but can I just tell the people in the chat to cut the fuck off with the stupid insults and name calling?
Thank you.
That's not what this shit is, okay? Right. I understand you guys are getting frustrated and shit. Everybody is. But don't fucking sit there and call people names. That's bullshit. Both of these people are my guests. Both of them are open enough and willing enough to come on this page. So whether you disagree or agree, don't resort to name calling because it's disrespectful. We can see your comments as we're talking. So anyway, I digress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I am going to take a few questions from the crowd, but I want to give you guys a warning. It's hard to look through all the comments. So can you please put any questions you have to ask them in all caps? That's going to be the easiest way to pick them out. For someone who just asked, no, Bernie is not Dem-Enter. He never told everyone to join the Dems. He's not a Dem. He actually left right at the DNC convention the day he got home. So he's an independent. He has already announced that he will run independent, as he always has, for the Senate. No, he's not Dem-Enter. Every time I've seen him speak, he has trashed the Dems, in fact. Mm-hmm. He makes no apologies for them.
But our revolution is Dem-Enter.
What's that?
Our revolution is Dem-Enter.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily true.
It is. It is.
No, it's
true.
not. No, it's not. I
can
tell you right now.
It is. We all work within the Democratic infrastructure.
No, they will work with you if you're a progressive, but they don't exclusively work with Democrats. I know that for a fact. The
vast majority use Dem-Enter.
All right. Go and believe in it. They're not only Dem-Enter.
Okay, the vast majority is Dem-Enter. We'll say that.
It doesn't matter. They're not just Dem-Enter exclusively.
Okay, I just said the vast majority.
Exclusively is what you meant, right?
I just said the vast majority. Oh my God, how do you not hear what I'm saying? Like, it's like I say one thing and then you hear another thing and you just keep repeating the same thing.
I'm saying that when you first said, said
God.
With Democrats. Your first statement.
All right.
People are going to watch the people. Don't worry, the internet has it. The internet has it.
Okay, so someone wants to know 171 seats, Jessica? Is that
171 legislative seats, yes.
And they want to know out of how many?
Out of 8,100.
8,100, okay. Mm-hmm. Anyone else got any questions? We got an Love Ya John. Let's see here, People's Party. Let's see. All right. I see comments, not questions. So why don't we do this? So why don't we I'll set my timer. Each of you have 5 minutes. Jessica, you have 5 minutes to sell us on why Dem-Enter is the way to go, lack of a better, advantageous. And John, you have 5 minutes to explain why you think that it's better to Dem-Exit.
So John gets the closing comments?
No, I don't care who goes last.
Okay. So I'll just start off by saying that Dem-Enter is not for everyone. I would not argue that. It takes a very strong stomach. Very strong. Just hearing some of the things that I've heard and just like, I just couldn't, sometimes I just can't believe these people are saying what they're saying and that they're doing what they're doing. And it is just mind blowing at times. But I think if you're looking for the fastest way to legislative reform, which is ultimately what impacts us the most, is our legislation, then Dem-Enter is the way to go. And we're already seeing this. We've made huge strides. I mean, we have I keep saying 171 legislative seats, but that is a huge deal. That one number is a huge deal, especially since we've been organizing like this for under a year. We have 18 Bernie-crat DNC members. We have 10 sitting federal Bernie-crats in the U.S. House, which is amazing. We flooded the Mass Dem convention, and as a result, we have the most progressive platform. I mean, the platform that we now have in the party has a lot of Green Party policies in it now. I mean, it's pretty far to the left. We've seen this, and now we can actually go and look at our politicians in the eyes and say, why don't you support this? The people want this. The delegates want this. Why don't you support single payer? It's in the platform. And that's exactly what we did with Warren, Senators Warren and Markey. And now they co-sponsored Bernie's Medicare for All bill after years of yammering on about how we need to save the ACA and how we need to improve the ACA. And the ACA is a miserable failure. It's a stopgap and it needs to be replaced with single payer. We all know this. But progressives were able to push everything to the left far enough that we could actually see a difference. We see a difference. We're making legislatively, procedurally, governmentally, we're making a huge difference. And we're seeing this in state after state after state, which is why we have won so many legislative seats. And I would suggest that you, on that note, I would suggest if you're into the numbers and you like to keep track of things visually, I would suggest that you follow a young man also from Massachusetts named Warren Lynch. He is just fantastic.
I'm friends with him. He's commenting.
Oh, hi, Warren. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
He's fantastic. He is an Our Revolution organizer for Malden, Massachusetts. He's doing amazing work. He's the one who got me to caucus with Our Revolution and sign up to be a delegate in the Dem Party and make a difference. So I would urge you to follow him because he looks at every single local race and he reports on it. He has data sheets upon data sheets and he puts out maps of Dem-Enter's progress. And it is just astounding if you look at these maps and you look at the data. We're making great progress and we're changing things. We're actually changing things and we see this. So I don't understand when people say, you don't have anything to show. We see this. We have a lot of sitting Bernie-crats at this point who are pushing for progressive policy, and we're pushing things to the left. There's no question about that. I think we just need to keep in mind that for the establishment, Dem-Enter is their worst nightmare, and it's because of the procedure involved. Everything in politics and government is based on procedures, oftentimes procedures that have been in place a very long time, and they can only hold us back so far, and they can only fire so many of us. They can't fire all of us, especially if we show up, en masse, just hundreds of us. It's a powerful thing. There's a lot of power in numbers, and there's a lot of us. So if we all just kind of band together, show up to the Democrats' door, and we're like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" That's going to make a big difference, and it is making a big difference very quickly. I might add. And, I support people who are working outside the party to build, alternate parties. If I see that that's starting to work more quickly than Dem-Enter, then I will happily, go independent or go green or go whatever People's Party, whatever it happens to be. But the truth is, Dem-Enter is working exponentially faster, and I haven't seen any progress that Dem-Exit has made aside from talking about it and putting ideas out there, which absolutely is the first step towards building a movement. But we just don't have the time to wait. We need to get into the Dem infrastructure and use that against them, because the infrastructure of the party is not the problem. The infrastructure has been there for a long time. The problem is the people that occupy that infrastructure, because those people operate outside of the law. They think that committing fraud is okay. So we need to replace those people with honest people who actually want to run clean campaigns and pass legislation for the people and make this country for the people again, because the government ultimately is supposed to be us. I think a lot of the time we forget that the government is supposed to be us, and we just want to return it to our hands, into the hands of the people, because right now it's in the hands of corporatists and the oligarchy.
All right, awesome. And to the guy who commented talking shit because I have a Bernie poster, yeah, I do. He's pretty recognizable. I have a tattoo of him as well. So, but yeah, so the next time you inspire millions of people, then you can step to him. Thanks. He's changed some lives. Go do the same. Anyway, John, you're up.
I would say, arguably, if there is a nightmare for the DNC, it is the Dem-Exit movement. And what we're doing now is that we are building relationships to build a coalition between organizations and move forward with that. We have an idea that is very strong with the American public, and I believe ultimately the American public will support us in our efforts to make sure that we have a voice as progressives, because we're not going to allow the Democrats to, just run roughshod over us every single time. And I could appreciate, the Dem-Enters and their passion about changing the party from within, but there's no way that that's the only strategy that's going to work. There's two parties that are.
No, it's just the fastest.
I did not interrupt you.
Okay.
And arguably, it's not the fastest, because we don't know. Only time can tell what's going to prevail. So I'm not going to get into a contest of what's going to be better. I'm just trying to let the American people know that they need to have a choice. And the choice that the American people need to make is that they want to get universal health care. They want to make sure that they are able to go to school, tuition-free education. And if the Democrats, the neoliberals, do not give you that because they want to keep blocking progressives within the party, then you have to have an alternative. And to tell people that to just drop everything that they're doing and run into the Dem-Enter is not giving us a viable strategy to win anything. So I would say, look, if you're Dem-Enter and you like what you're doing, do it. What we're doing is we're doing it because we believe in it. We know that it has a strong possibility of working, and it has worked in other countries. We're not a unique. We have a government that actually works, that has a separation of powers. We have a pluralistic government, but we can still win elections without both parties. On the local level, specifically, I have seen it, and it happens all the time. What we're trying to do is amp it up a bit and say, look, what we're going to do is that we're going to propose policies that actually work and get the American people into that process. Because right now, what the Democrats are doing, they're just talking down to people and say, hey, you just got to vote for us. If you don't vote for us, you're going to vote for Trump, and not give the American people a chance to participate in politics. So what we're proposing is this, that we're going to keep looking for people who want to help us turn the American government and turn the American country around, turn our government around, turn the United States around. And, I'm open. My mind is open, but there's no way that I'm going to tell anyone who's put a lot of hard work into politics and into their organizing that one strategy deserves word over the other. Eventually, something's got to give and something is going to emerge. So what I say to the American people tonight is that to keep your mind open. If you're a Dem-Enter, fine. If you're a Dem-Exit, fine. I'm open to that. But what I'm saying is that the Dem-Exit strategy is needed in America. That's what we're doing. All the organizations that got together in Washington earlier, a month ago or two, are in line with what the American people want, because the majority of the American population are independent voters.
Okay, guys. Well, I thank you so much for this. It's obviously inspiring a lot of comments. This is like the number one thing that gets talked about all the time. So I appreciate both of you. I appreciate both of your stances, and I appreciate both of you for fighting for what you believe in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys are both freaking awesome. You both, we may have different strategies of how to get to the point we want to get to, but you guys are awesome for fighting to get to that point. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The tide is turning. We'll get there.
Night, guys.
Good night.
And broadcast. And broadcast. And broadcast.